Hey folks, David here. I'm finally getting back to a project that I started at least 5 months ago. And the project is to take out my 027 track and put in some 031 track. So this will give me a wider radius curve and a higher track, which will allow me to run some of my pre-war cars on, because I was having trouble with the 027. So I couldn't install the 031 track until I got some new roadbed. This is what I was using with the 027, and it's basically just styrofoam, and I cut it like this and I spray painted it, and it kind of looked good, except for after a while then you get this and this, so that kind of looked like crap in a short time. And you know, that's a nice straight piece, so that worked out. But it worked for a little while and then didn't work. And then I thought I would try the old cork roadbed, and this stuff I don't like. So I have a bunch of this cork stuff that I don't want, and it's a real pain to lay down. Well, here's an example of what happens when you try and lay cork roadbed around the corners. And I read, or somebody told me, well, all you have to do is soak it and then it'll be more flexible. Well, it's kind of flexible until it dries, and then it's not flexible. So that option really sucks. So I'm not using cork roadbed. I got a bunch extra. Somebody wants it. So what I'm going to use is, this is actually a bulletin board, and it was extra. Well, I took it out of the trash at work. Somebody threw it out, and I said, I got a use for that. So this is a giant cork board, and it's at least a 1/4 inch thick here, if not 3/8. Yeah, it's almost 3/8 of an inch thick. That'll make nice roadbed. So I got to cut some roadbed, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some more of this paint here, because I do like how that paint turned out. So I'll paint it again. Let me bring the camera around and show you what I got figured here. The diameter of 031 track from center to center is 28 3/4 of an inch. So that's from center to center, 28 3/4 of an inch. So the diameter of the track, 28 3/4, center to center. So half of that comes to 14 3/8 for the radius. That's from the middle out to the edge. The track is a little bit wider than the 027. This is 2 1/4 inches wide. So what I'm going to do is make my roadbed 3 1/4 inches wide. So half of that is 1 5/8. Okay, you got that? So we're going to have a 3 1/4 inch wide roadbed. Half of that is 1 5/8. So we take our radius here of 14 3/8 and add 1 5/8, and that gives us 16. So that's going to be the outside radius. Then if we take the same radius, 14 3/8, and subtract 1 5/8, that's going to give us 12 3/4 of an inside radius. So we've got to make a way to draw that out on here. You get a stick that's about 18 inches here. So I'm going to put that here. So we're going to mark 1 inch here. And then we said 12 3/4 plus that inch that we just put on there. So 12 3/4, 13 3/4 goes to here. And then 16, so we'll make that 17 to there. Just a minute. So we get this, and just to make a straight line, help us out just a little bit. Okay, so that's going to be our road bed, the width of our road bed. I have to find the middle of this stick, drill some holes, be right back. I found the center of my stick here. What I did is I took my square, this is a 3/4 inch wide stick, so I set this at 3/8, and then you put it on there and you draw a line this way, and then draw a line this way, and then you got that in the middle. That might seem kind of crazy to go through that length, but it actually helps to make it a little bit more accurate. And using a drill press, you might think, well, why don't you just drill it? But it does help to make sure your holes are straight. Okay, so we got 3 holes drilled in it. Probably gonna have to make these holes bigger because I got to get a pencil in there. Give me a minute. I drilled out my stick here a little bit bigger with my stepper bit so that I could fit the pencil in here, and it comes out the other side. This hole here, I drilled a little bit too big, or bigger than I wanted to, so I had to find a nail that would fit. So I said the outside radius was 16 inches. So I measured like 16 1/4 in here and 16 1/4 in here to get that spot. And then just put that in here. And then put my pencil in and drew my lines. So I don't know if anybody's done this before or how obvious that is. So if you need to cut road bed or something like that, you know, that's a handy way to do it. Make yourself a compass. The next thing I need to do is take that line, figure where the end of this is, like that. Do it here. Because what I need to do is I'm going to have a short piece of track in here. So this is, what I say, 5 9/16. So I need to take this line here and go 5 9/16, and then do the same thing with the compass, basically there, to do the other side. So I'm not going to torture you with watching that. Let me do that and then show you what I got done. Hopefully you can see the lines that I drew here and here. That should work out. And then I did the same thing the other direction. And this track looks like it fits in there pretty good. So I did pretty good with my homemade compass. Next thing I need to do, get a fresh blade here and gently cut that out. And looks like I have plenty of room left here for the straight pieces that I need, so that's good. Worst case, if I screwed up somewhere on these curves, I can cut it here and here for that middle section and fit that in however I need. In other words, you know, if I need to bring it out or in, or, you know, redo those middle pieces. But I'm happy with how the radius turned out and how the track fits in there, so I'm happy with that. That looks pretty good. So let me get a sharp utility knife blade and start cutting. Got all my pieces cut out, so here's the ends here, the curves. So that seems to fit perfect when I lay the track on it, so that's good. I cut out like 5 straight pieces here, which is way more than what I need, but that's all right in case I have to trim the ends or something. I ran this through the table saw, and what had happened is, as I'm feeding it through, if you move the board a little bit, then the end of it kind of gets messed up. So I actually had to cut some of these short on the end because it ended up cutting crooked. But anyhow, I have more than enough straight pieces, so that'll be just fine. The next thing I need to do is cut all these pieces. I started on here, cut them at an angle or bevel the edges or whatever. And I was just using this is a scrap piece, using a utility knife and just kind of slicing that. And then I got a rasp and just kind of smooth it out. Debating on how smooth to make that because, I mean, reality, the railroad is bumpy and actually it's rocks. But anyhow, yeah, I've got to cut all these pieces here, trim the edges. And I got to get some more of this. That's the textured paint, which worked out pretty good before, and this can is almost empty, so I need to get another can of that from the Ace Hardware. So I've got some work to do yet, and see you on the next step when I get all this cut and painted. I got all these pieces trimmed here at an angle, so they look pretty good. That's fine. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to primer them all and then not paint what I don't need. I did a test on one piece here, and it turns out this stuff is pretty porous and the paint really soaks in. So I'm going to primer it first and then come back and paint it with the textured paint. So the textured paint actually looks pretty nice on this, and it looks pretty realistic, so I like it. So yeah, it'll look good. So let me get the primering here. I don't know if there's anything left in this guy. Okay, I'll get this done and then get back to you. I got all these primered and they look pretty good. So I got my textured paint and hopefully I have enough. I'm only going to need like 3 of these, I think. And of course the curves. So, well, I'm going to paint 3 of these, and if I have paint left over, I'll do the rest, but I'm going to get 3 of them done. So the thermometer says 46 degrees Fahrenheit and 60% humidity. So that should work just fine. Let me set this aside. And let's get these sprayed. I shake the can for a full 2 minutes to make sure that it's good and mixed. All right, you get the idea. I'll show you these when they're dry. I got all my roadbed painted. Spritz a little bit of black on there, give it a little more color or whatever. This is what I was looking for originally, was this paint here. This is Rust-Oleum, and I couldn't find it, so I ended up having to go with something else, Krylon. So it gives me a little bit different look. My original plan was to put 2 of these together for the side pieces, and I went and checked yesterday and realized that this comes out to like 60 inches, and what I have now is 53 inches for the 2 sides, so that would make it 7 inches longer, and I don't really have that much space. So what I'm going to have to do is get a couple single pieces and then like a half piece that's 5.5. So yeah, I'll get 2 pieces that are 10 inches plus one that's 5 or 5.5 and fit it in there. So then it's going to end up being 55 and a half. So it's going to be like 2 or 2.5 inches longer than what I have now. So I have to get some more track before I do anything. So I'm going to call this video done because I got to get more track, and I'm not going to have time to put this down until next week when I have off for Christmas vacation, because I know it's going to take me 2 or 3 hours of messing around to get all this track and roadbed screwed down. So I'm going to call here and call this the end of the video for now. I'll have another update, you know, about a week or two. Yeah, probably more like 2 weeks when I get this all done. So thank you very much for watching, and see you on the next video. All right, take care.